All right, we are going to hop into 2.2, which is looking more into our logic unit, looking this time at compound statements. Please pardon my dog in the background. I'm having to record from home when I'm making these. So we want to be able to translate compound statements into symbolic form and translate them into symbolic form with parentheses into words, and then apply the dominance of connectives. So, first thing it asks us to do is consider the statement, my friend passed the written test, but they did not pass the road test. So this is a compound statement, and it's formed by using a connective to join two independent clauses or logical statements. I know this sounds like grammar class, but we've seen sentences like this before. I didn't go to work today, but I did go to the grocery store. I didn't go to work today, and I went to the grocery store is another way to connect those two statements. I did go to work today, and I went to the grocery store, right? So we have different ways in the English language of connecting two statements, two independent clauses. So the statement, my friend passed the written test, is an independent statement because we could finish the sentence there, right? My friend passed the written test. End of sentence. And secondly, my friend did not pass the road test. Again, that is an independent thought. That's an independent statement. We could finish the sentence there. However, the word but is the connective used to join these two statements together. So did our friend get their driver's license? So whenever we form two statements with and or but, we form something that's called a conjunction. In logic, in order for a conjunction to be true, all the independent logical statements that make it up must be true. So the symbol for conjunction is this little, it kind of looks like an up arrow to me, or part of an up arrow. Some of my students in the past have said they think it's like the letter A without the little bar in between. Really, however you think about it. So it says, consider the compound statement, Derek Jeter played professional baseball for the New York Yankees, and he was a shortstop. So if P represents the statement, Derek Jeter played professional baseball for the New York Yankees, and Q represents the statement, Derek Jeter was a shortstop, the conjunction would be written as P and Q. That's how we would say it in words, would be P and Q. The joining of two logical statements with the word or forms a compound statement called a disjunction. Unless otherwise specified, a disjunction is an inclusive or statement, which means the compound statement formed by joining two independent clauses with the word or will be true if at least one of the clauses is true. Whew! Now that's a lot. Okay? It's a lot to understand, a lot to kind of comprehend. So looking at our conjunctions, okay, it's joining two logical statements. In order for it to be true, both statements have to be true. I am recording this video on a Thursday, and it is sunny outside. As of right now, which is July 13th, those are both true statements. Okay, I'm recording this video on a Thursday, and it is sunny outside. I'm looking out my window right now. However, when we get to what's the disjunction, which is formed by using the word or, only one of the statements has to be true for us to consider the whole statement true. Okay, so I'm recording this video on a Thursday, or it is sunny outside. So only one of those has to be true. So if I were to say I'm recording this video on a Thursday, or it's raining outside, well, it's not raining outside. Again, it's July 13th. You guys probably don't have the weather memorized from that day, but it is a Thursday. And so that statement in its entirety is true, even though only one part of it is true. So the difference between the conjunction and the disjunction is how much truth value do you have to attribute. Okay, so then we see joining two logical statements with the word or using the phrase if first statement then second statement is called a conditional. Okay, so what that means is if it continues to be sunny outside, I will have to go to work on the patio at work. Okay, so that means that if the first part of the statement is true, the second part of the statement will follow. So if it continues to be sunny outside, I'll have to work the patio at work. So what if it doesn't continue to be sunny outside? What if it turns rainy? Well, then I might not have to work the patio. Joining two logical statements with a connected phrase if and only if is called biconditional. This one's going to be unique. We're going to see it pop up a lot throughout this unit. And in that case, both parts of the statement have to be true in order for the whole statement to be true. It is Thursday if and only if yesterday was Wednesday. Okay, so both parts of that statement have to be true. Please pardon the paper noise in the background. So today is Thursday. That's a true statement. Yesterday was Wednesday. And both of those have to be true in order to make the whole statement true. So it's only Thursday if yesterday was Wednesday. And if yesterday was Wednesday, then today has to be Thursday. Here are your symbols that we're going to be using. So we learned negation in section 2.1. Now we have these other symbols. So we have our conjunction. Again, that, to me it looks like an up arrow. You might see it differently. You have your or, which to me looks like a down arrow. If then, so that's your conditional again. So if it continues to be sunny, then I have to work the patio. That's a one-way arrow. But if we have if and only if, that's where it becomes a double-sided arrow. So let P represent the statement, my child finished her homework. Let Q represent the statement, my child cleaned her room. R represent the statement, my child played video games. And S represent the statement, my child streamed a movie. Translate each of the following symbolic statements into words. So this first one that we're looking at, I kind of work from the inside out. So I look at what's happening in the parentheses first, and then I'll worry about the negation here in a second, because I do see that negation out in front. So the first thing that we have in parentheses is this P and Q. So in this case, we would say if P is true, my child finished her homework, and if Q is true, my child cleaned her room. So we would say, my child finished her homework. Again, I'm sorry for the sound. And that's, I'm just going to use the shorthand there. That's just the word and. Right, and so that's the inner part of the parentheses that we have right now. The second layer that we would add to this is the negation, right? So we would say my child did not finish her homework and did not clean her room. You can also see this in a different format. Sometimes, especially in your textbook, you'll see they use the phrasing, it is not the case for negation. So we'd say it is not the case that my child finished her homework. And I'm just going to use the word and in this case. And, oops, cleaned her room. Okay. So the other, of course, you could phrase it differently. There's not just one set way to phrase these things. So you could also put, my child did not finish her homework or clean her room. Okay. So you could also just use just that normal phrasing that we learned in 2.1, where we just put the word not in for negation. I'm going to pause the video for just a second. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're back. We're going to take a look now at this second number 2. So we have P and Q, and then R and S in their own set of parentheses. So again, let's kind of look at those parentheses first. So we have P and Q, which we saw with number 1, meant that she cleaned her room and did her homework. I'll try to use shorthand here as much as I can. Then we have R or S. So now we have that other symbol for the disjunction. So R or S would be they either played video games or they streamed a movie. And then we have what's combining the two, which is this one-way arrow. So that's the if-then statement. So we would say, if my child cleaned her room and did her homework, I'm so sorry, y'all. And so we would say then, they can either play a video game or stream a movie. I guess then she play a video game or stream a movie. Okay, so that's kind of how we put that all together. So we have our little arrow here that tells us that it's an if-then statement, since it's a one-way arrow. And so we have the requirement that is, if they clean their room and did their homework, then they can do one of these two things. Or they can do both, because or is not exclusive per se. So they could do a video game or stream a movie or do both if they wanted to. All right, let's take a look at number 3. So here's where we get kind of to our most complicated. Again, I always recommend starting with what the parentheses are saying. We can see that these parentheses here are the same as we saw on the last slide. So that means that this R or S would be that they can stream a movie or play video games. We know that the P then Q, or P and Q, means that they finish the homework and clean the room. Again, I'm just going shorthand here. We also see, though, that we have not in front of the R or S. So that would be, it is not the case that they can watch video games or play a movie. So this would be and then we have our qualifier, which in this case is the double-sided arrow. That's that if and only if. So this would be, they cannot play video games or stream a movie if and only if they did their homework and cleaned their room. Another way to start this would be, it is not the case they can play video games. So we could switch it up, say it is not the case they can play video games or stream a movie if and only if they did their homework and cleaned their room. So that qualifier there, again, is that if and only if statement. So it's kind of reversible. So if and only if they did their, or if they did their homework and cleaned their room, they cannot play, or it is not the case they can play video games or stream a movie, and then vice versa, the way that it's written. That one's a little bit trickier, and I know this is kind of all weird stuff as we start this logic unit. Again, as we get into truth tables, which we'll see in our next section, it'll make a little bit more sense. Then we have, lastly, what's called the dominance of connectives. So you can see here the least dominant to the most dominant. So the least dominant thing that we're going to see when we look at these connectives is a parenthesis. Then a negation, then your disjunction and conjunction, then conditional and biconditional. Okay. So again, when we look at parentheses, that tends to be our least dominant. Biconditional would be our most dominant. So this says, for the following compound logical statement, add parentheses to indicate the order in which the statement must be evaluated. Parentheses are evaluated innermost first. So you want to start with your weakest one first. And so if we go back, parentheses are the weakest. We have to add those in. Our next weakest is the negation. So in this case, we would put parentheses around not Q. Okay. Then when we look at our next part, we see that disjunction and conjunctions are evaluated the same. So here's where you can kind of make a creative choice, however you want to do it. Whether that's you want to apply it to be a disjunction and put parentheses here and have us evaluate the whole statement. The other option would be to put parentheses around the P and Q and then evaluate the whole statement. So it's kind of up to you because they do have the same value, but you want to put the negation in its own set first and then basically pick if you want to use the or the and. This is it for section 2.2. I know this is a little bit tricky. It will make more sense again as we start getting into 2.3 and looking at those truth tables. But I will see you for 2.3. Thanks.